Hi there, Tracy here for Love from Lizzie. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make 5 cards out of the Love from Lizzie June 2025 card kit called Crystal Slipper. So before we dive in, I hope that you'll like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you'll be notified each time we upload a new video. And let's go ahead and jump in. So I have all 5 cards separated out into these little box thingies, just to keep my stuff in order, and I have everything pre-cut. This is a Z-fold card, so it is scored at 2 1/8. And then I have 2 pieces, actually I have 3, but I have 2 at the ready of, this is 2 by 5 5/8 of the pattern paper in the kit. So I'm going to lay one down here and leave just a nice even border. I just hadn't decided whether I was going to use all 3 or not. In the end, I end up not using all 3 because I don't need the card to be too thick. And I'll just lay this one down on this side, again leaving an even border. And so now we've got our Z-fold card, and then I've cut these little circles just using my punch out of the cream colored cardstock that's in the kit. And I'm going to glue the little circles, just half of them, down onto the left-hand side, and just make sure that I get them evenly spaced ish, best I can. And this one's going to overlap a little, and that's okay because I wanted it to fit the pumpkins. And then I'm going to attach the pumpkins. This card could not be easier. So I've got this sort of white one, I've got this pink one, and I've got the periwinkle one. So I'm going to put the pink one on the top, and it's going to get glued flat down. And I'll put the periwinkle one on the bottom. And just kind of tuck that little leafy space up underneath. And then I'll pop up the white one in the middle. Just pull off little backers. And there we go, that one's popped up a little bit. And then I've got my little sentiment that came from the stamp set. And Hello Pumpkin. And then I've got this beautiful little, I don't know what these pieces are called, but they're holographic and they almost look metallic. And I'm going to decorate the edge of the card with that. I'm going to trim it off to where I need it, and then I'm going to glue it down. And I think I'll use that other piece for the inside because I don't want any to go to waste. And I'm not using a ton of glue here because I don't want it oozing out and messing up my holographic paper. Although what's cool about holographic things is they can be wiped off. So there's that. So I'm going to leave a little bit of space because I think I want to use some strips as well. I'll just make sure this is good and stuck down and nice and straight. And then I'll grab my strips here. Let's go ahead and get the package open. Come on. Or we're just going to fight with the package. I like to open them from the top. I don't like that sticky thing. And typically I take them out and I keep them all in a little container that I created for them. But I'm going to use the sparkle pink ones. I'm going to grab my tweezers and grab a piece off. I'm just going to lay it along the edge right here. And then trim it off with my scissors. And I'll lay this other piece back down here, possibly. I think I'll lay one on the other side too, just for added shine and sparkle. See if I can get that one off my fingers. And I'm just going to leave a little tiny space in between and trim that off. And there you got a very fancy little card. Now we're just going to put this piece on the inside, and I want to trim it down. So I'm kind of eyeballing here, and I've got my scissors, and I'm just kind of cutting along the edges. And the reason I want to do it that way is I want it to be kind of symmetrical as it sits in there. And I'll just add some tiny dots of glue, and this card will be done. I don't typically put sentiments on the insides of my cards. You know, I feel like handwriting in there is best, so you would handwrite your sentiment over there in the dark pink portion. So that's that card done. Let's add just a little bit more bling here. I love these little twinkles. So we'll go with the pink ones just to kind of go along with the pink in the card. And I stamped out the sentiment in a pink as well. I'm just adding a couple to each little circle for that extra spark. All right, there we go. There's that card done. Let's move on to the second card. Now, what I've done here is I put two pieces of paper together and then cut them both at the same time and used, alternating for each one. And I'll show you what I mean here in a minute. So, and I know I want a border because I cut those down to what I wanted, which was 4 by 5 1/4. No, that's not right. There we go. Put it back together like a puzzle. So you just take the two pieces, cut them down to the size that you want, and then just cut across. I just use my trimmer. And then you actually get a 2-for-1 card because your other card will have the opposite. I didn't make another one with this pattern though, because I wanted everything to be different in today's video. So I'll glue that next piece down, and then I'll just take my cloth and just kind of wipe around it, trying to get out any kind of glue marks that are visible there. And then I'll glue my last piece down. And this creates a lot of interest on the card, especially using that mirror holographic. And particularly when you put her down with her little dress. So I've got some foam tape on the back because I want to pop it up a little, and I'm adding glue to my foam tape. And we'll pop that down, put the sentiment down. And I don't know, I don't remember if I put embellishments on this one or not. I think I did, but I might not have. I think I'll put that down at the bottom part of her dress. My favorite princess. Another, and I stamped that in some periwinkle. Yeah, I picked a different one because I wanted silver. So I picked these little circles. And I will have everything that I use listed in the description box down below. Get a little bigger one there, and then we'll get a couple down here. That'll complete that card. Plenty of bling on there. Oops, let's spill these all over. All right, there's the mirror card. Next card. This one I'm going to do a little bit of, well, a lot of layering and just get all the crud off. So I've got my background layer, and then I've cut this arch out of some of the holographic paper in the kit, and I'm just kind of auditioning how I want these to sit on here. I want the clock up here somehow. And I changed my mind and ended up putting the clock in the middle, but that's neither here nor there. I just want to see how I want to put this together. And then I'll go ahead and start gluing pieces down. So I'll start with my clock, and I do decide to keep that more in the middle. Okay, and then we'll get the little mouse glued down. Before I start gluing anything else, I think I'm going to go ahead and just kind of check and make sure that his tail doesn't stick out too far before I stick him down, because I want it to be able to fit in the envelope, but I also want to maximize the visuality of the clock. And I'll put this little lantern, and this little coach is going to get popped up. So I put that on some foam tape. Now before I put that on the card, I'm going to go ahead and glue everything else down that can be flat. That way I don't have to try and put pressure, where the foam tape is versus everywhere. So I will pop this up a little bit too, and I'm just going to pop it up on some very thin 1mm foam tape. I don't want it to be popped up too high, but little pop-ups in cards is really, really kind of beefs it up, kicks it up a notch. So I'll just pull the backers off this foam tape, and let's see, am I going glueless? Yes, I am. I'm going to wing it and make sure that that's on there as straight as I can get it. And then we'll pop this little carriage up, just add a little bit of glue to my foam tape. And just make sure I get this placed where I need it. Love it. And then I'm going to pop up the little bow on a little teeny tiny pop-up thingy right there on top of the lantern. And then I've got a dream as a wish your heart makes, and I think I'm going to put it just right down here, more towards the bottom. I don't want to cover too much. And my glue's not dry on my foam tape yet, so I have to be careful placing that. And there's that one done. I'm not going to add any bling to that one. Okay, next one, I have cut out this little castle from the die included in the kit. Let's just make sure there's no stray little pieces hanging off of there. And I'll just glue this down to a piece of kind of purpley cardstock that is also going to be my card base color. So you'll see that in a minute. So just getting a very thin line of glue. I'm just gently laying it on this paper. I don't want to squish, because sometimes the glue will stain these papers. And then I'll just lay something flat on top of it till it's dry. And then I trimmed it off and added some foam tape to the back. And let's go ahead and put this card together. So there's that kind of lavender card base. And then I've got this silver. And in hindsight, I probably could have cut a lot of that out of the middle, but I didn't. It's 5 cards. It took me a while to cut all this stuff out. You know, you can put them together in a few, 10, 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, but that's after you've already cut out all your elements. So cutting out the elements takes some time. So we'll lay this one on top of that matte layer. And I've got my little castle here. We'll go ahead and get this stuck down. Sorry about that. I got interrupted. Hopefully you didn't hear my husband yelling my name from downstairs. We'll get that stuck down, and then I cut out the Make-A-Wish. And it's just on plain white, heavy cardstock, 120 pound. This particular die doesn't have a shadow layer or anything, so I'm just going to put it straight like it is. We'll have Make-A-Wish and that blingy, shiny castle. Little castles in the background. And then finally we're going to do our last card, and this one's going to be of landscape orientation. So I'm going to open the card out and just glue this whole piece. So I used the whole piece at 4 by 5 1/4 to cover the entire card front of all these pretty little horses. I think they're gorgeous. So let me zoom out a little bit so you can see what I'm doing here. And then I'm going to be using these little hearts here of this holographic. Don't put glue on. Let's go ahead and trim that down first. So I'm going to trim that to 5 1/2 and then glue it down. Just want to kind of make it go all the way across. And again, I'm not going too crazy with the glue. Just little dots. Got a little piece there, piece of flash stuck in there. Just pull that out, and then I'll go ahead and lay this down. And I'm going to leave a strip at the bottom because I do want to add some more of the Love from Lizi strips, and I'm going to use the silver or the blue. I guess I'm using the blue. I love how I change my mind. And I'll just trim off the excess. And it ends up my card's a little bit crooked, so I'll trim that down. See where it's sticking out there? I'll grab my trimmer and trim it off. Nope, it's not going to fit lengthwise in there, goofy girl. Okay, I'll just flip it over and trim off that excess. Come on, let's go. My trimmer has been really acting up lately. I don't know what its problem is, but doesn't matter, it still works. I just have to work at it a little bit. So I'll grab another one of the little kind of silvery blue strips and lay it across the top. Just again for that added shine, and then I'll trim off the excess. And for this one, I've got the princess and I've got the coach with the horses. And I'm going to glue her flat down. Just over here to the right, because I'm going to have my sentiment on the left, but as high up as I can get her so I don't cover too much of her dress. Then I've added foam tape. I do want to pop this up. So I'll add a little bit of glue. Again, to the back of my foam tape. This is some foam tape that doesn't have sticky on both sides. And so you have to glue it, but I like that because it's also easy to bend without your fingers sticking to it. So I'll lay this here and notice how the horses are kind of bucked up. Okay. And then I have the For You, and I have done the shadow layer in a blue vellum. So it's, you know, kind of translucent. It's not as translucent as I wished it was, but it was the blue I had, and I wanted to keep kind of with the blue theme on this card. So there we've got the For You, and then lastly I'm going to add some of these little sparkles. And I think I'm going to add the green ones to pull in the green from the horse's hair and the coach, just to kind of tie it all together. So get 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 till I get tired of putting them on, or I feel like I've had enough. I think I'm going to go with just 5 extra bling on the card. There we go. And there's the 5th card. So let me zoom out here and show you all 5 cards again, and then I'll have still images at the end of the video. So here's the first card, little Z fold card. Here's the second card with the, see what I mean? Got glue on there. Just wipe it off. It wipes off. With the mirror in the background. Asymmetrical. I've got the layered card with the little coachman. I've got the castle card with the Make-A-Wish, and I've got the For You card. Hope you like this video. If you do, leave us a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Take care. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.